I'll make up Reggie the host. Or if I make you the host, will I stop? Yes. Okay, though. Okay, though. Okay. Okay, Bismillah. Right, so let me continue with my definition. Right, so it is a sifa, right? It is a character, right? للنفس in the self of a person. تصدر عنها الأفعال الحسنة بسهولة مع التباعد عن القبائح. Right, so it is so be, this good character, right, gives rise, right, to good deeds, right, doing good deeds, like easily. Right, so it's not like a force. You don't have to force yourself to do good deeds. You don't have to force yourself on good behavior, but it comes naturally. That is a sign that somebody has achieved some level of good character. Right, when you naturally, you're nice to people, inshallah. When you're naturally, you like to help people, and you naturally like to go out of your way, to assist others, when you naturally, love service, when you naturally, that you're an easygoing person, and you're not easily, you're not easily annoyed, or you're not high strung, or you're not, easily angered. Right? So you're naturally on that, in a sense, but it's very easy for you to do all of these things. That is a sign that someone has achieved some level of good character. But so of course, as you go along in the book, you see that, I think Imam Ghazali, right? He is more correct. I think he's more correct with regards to that. Every human being who's not a prophet, okay, besides prophets, every human being, we have, an amount, of work to do, right, in perfecting our character, or in striving for good character. So some people, right, they have a lot more to work on with regards to themselves, and it could be from birth, it could be naturally that someone, just has a very high, temper, a very, very heated person, very volatile, or it could be something that was learned and needs to be unlearned, right? So they grew up, with a lot of anger and vulgarities and rudeness, and so the people around them, right, have nurtured or have caused or developed the kind of bad character in them. Then when they learn about good character, there's a lot of undoing to be done. There's a lot of unlearning to be done, a lot of undoing to be done, a lot of damage, to be repaired, before the person can actually begin their journey in perfecting or in beautifying the character. You get me? Right. So basically, when we speak about good character, right, the starting point, the starting point in this quest, because it's a quest, right? It's a quest. It's like a race, yeah. It's like a race, a quest for good character, and race against who? Race against time, and because you want to get to some level, you want to get to a good level of character, before you die. Because you want to meet Allah Subhanahu wa Taala with qalbin salim, and you want to meet Allah Subhanahu wa Taala with a good heart, with a pure heart, inshallah. And in fact, the faster you get, right, to some level of good character, the easier life gets. It does, right? Mashallah. Life gets way easier when once you begin to, let go of vengeance, let go of anger, let go of hasad, of jealousy. You let go of When you let go of the vices, right, or the diseases in the heart, life actually gets really, really much easier. It's nice. Life gets nice. Right. So that's why there are many, you say, there are many uh uh motivations, why you want to get here, like why you want to push yourself on good character. You get me? Right. So, mashallah, right? So but the starting point for everyone is different. We all have different starting points. And our starting point in this quest for virtuous character depends on nature and nurture. Right. So nature and nurture. Nature meaning you are born. Right. So some people, they are just born with really a good temperament, yani, mashallah. Right. Some children, they are born with this is easier for them, to give in. It's easier for them to just want to share. It's just easier for them, and then there is nurture, right, whereby depending on the environment a child is in, right, a human being is in, right, what have they developed in themselves, of good or bad character, and what have they developed in themselves, subhanallah, right? So, and we see that in our day, subhanallah, you can see in your day that many, subhanallah, many, like, children, they are not being trained on good character, right? Because there is this is something that has been identified by Wahab Abu Bakr al-Adani, he has identified that because there is an obsession with academics, right? An obsession with academics, right? There becomes a neglect in tarbiyah or in the development of character, right? So that people don't know, like what like what to focus on with regards to the upbringing of the children, right? So in a sense, and I've heard mothers, subhanallah, I've heard mothers whereby they would like the kids are doing something, the kid is doing something, right? And then I'm like, this is not acceptable, what the kid is doing. And then the mother will say to me, oh, I choose my battles. Then I will say to her, this is a battle that you choose. Right? You're not choosing the right battles. This right here is a battle that you choose. Like, for example, if the child, were to raise his voice against you, right? Or if the child were to, show some rudeness to his grandparents or to his auntie or to his siblings, if they show some rudeness and then the mother said, nah, I just want to get him to wash up and to go to bed. That's all I want him to do. Right. But but in a sense, and depending on also the age of the child. Right. But if he has if he is at an age whereby this is not acceptable, right? That this is a battle for you to choose. You're actually gonna pick this. You're going to pick this because if you let it slide, you're gonna start creating a monster, right? And then you're gonna keep setting the child back, in the starting point, right, towards good character. You get me? Right. So when you're born, you are at some point in this race, right? In this race of good character. You are at some point naturally from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then what happens to you while you're growing up either brings you forward, in this progress towards good character, or it brings you backward. Right? It brings you backwards in your, in bringing you further, or in bringing a human being further from good character. You get me? Right. Right. So what is good character? It is a natural state of being. Okay, it's a natural state of being that can be trained, definitely can be trained. Because if we can't be trained, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to question us on this, right? But the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran that only those who come to Allah with a pure heart, right, they are the ones who are safe on the day of judgment, that tells us in and of itself that good character can be trained. But so if you can train it in yourself for it to come out of you with all ease, meaning so naturally, right? And to stay away from whatever is detestable or ugly, of character that this person naturally does not want to use, foul words, foul language. Yeah, in our zaman, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I really, it's so grievous, ya Allah. It's so grievous, the vocabulary of our youth right now. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And they don't know how to speak properly anymore. Right? So it's just so much rudeness, so much vulgarity, so much and it's really from the media. If people are not aware where it's coming from, like obviously from the media and from their friends, right, in school. Like so really, guard over the words and speech of your young. وعلامته, and the signs of it, وعلامته التخلي عن الصفات القبيحة المسامح بالمهلكات والتحلي بالصفات الحسنة مسمى بالمنجيات، ولا طريق إلى ذلك إلا بالمجاهدة غالبا، فإن النفس جبلت ميالة إلى الهوى والشهوات وأمارة بالسوء، فلا بد من جهادها حتى تتزكى وتتطهر من الرذائل وتتحلى بالفضائل. Right? The science of it is that of good character, right, is that the lower self, right, the nafs, right, is freed, or cleansed, right, for the divesting of the lower self. That means that the cleansing, and divesting means the cleansing, the cleansing of the lower self of contemptible characteristics known as destructive vices. That means the cleaning out. Right? So the first part of the first sign of good character is that someone has cleaned out from their hearts, cleaned out from their their habits. I clean out from their character, like what is reprehensible, right? And these are called the destructive vices, and you will go through what they are. And this and Imam Al Habib Muhammad Al Haddar, he is basically taking from the Ihya al-Ulumuddin, right? So if somebody were to say, we never learned the Ihya al-Ulumuddin, we're always learning the Ihya al-Ulumuddin. And I guess I've heard students, they say, we never learned the Ihya al-Ulumuddin. Do you know that every book after the Ihya, especially Hadrami books, books from Yemen, it is all the Ihya al-Ulumuddin, the revival of the Islamic sciences. They are all Ihya al-Ulumuddin, but they are all commentary. And they are commentary and also simplifying. Simplifying the Ihya, the Ihya of Imam al-Ghazali. So if someone's like thinking, we never learn the Ihya. No, we're always learning the Ihya. We actually always learning the Ihya because, but it's just that, our scholars, especially from Yemen, they take the book of Imam Ghazali and they just make it into smaller parts to make it easier for people to understand, right, and consume the knowledge that's in there. Almost every book, I'll say, almost every book, you'll find that they are just, they're just pulling out sections from the Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of the Islamic sciences, right, and making it easier, right, for people to comprehend and to follow also. Because Imam Ghazali, he can be difficult. It can be difficult, because we all have degree, we have, the human beings have any, our quality of education has gone down. So can be a bit difficult, on people. Mashallah. Tamam. So it is to cleanse yourself, right, from contemptible, that means from terrible characteristics, right, and then to beautify yourself, to adorn yourself with righteous characteristics known as salvatory virtues. And that will be the good traits that we want. And inshallah, we'll be going into each and every one of them and how do we how do we cleanse ourselves, right, from terrible traits, and how do we beautify ourselves, right, with good traits. Now, right. It is usually not achieved except by struggling against one's lower self, fighting yourself, making yourself a character, because the lower self has been created with a natural inclination towards its own whims and carnal desires, right? Its own in hawa and nafs. The nafs, the lower self here, like they are using the word the lower self, for nafs. And then the nafs is inclined towards his own whims and desires, that he wants what he wants, the nafs. So the nafs does not want to be nice. The nafs in his natural state, right? The nafs, right, does not want to be nice. He wants to be selfish. He wants to be judgmental. He wants to be self-righteous. He wants to be. And the nafs likes all these, terrible traits. But inshallah, maybe find it detestable. That is why good character means that you show good traits naturally or easily, right? And that you are far from bad traits and you hate it. You hate, when bad traits appear in yourself, or when it appears around you. Now, okay, so therefore, there is no other recourse except to oppose it, to go against the nafs, whatever the nafs is demanding towards, until the nafs is purified, cleansed of vices, and adorned with virtue. Right. So first is takhalli, and then there is tahalli. Right. So takhalli is to cleanse, right, from all the bad traits in the heart. Right, and inshallah, we will go through the bad traits one by one. And then there is tahalli, which is the adornment, right, of the heart with good traits until it becomes natural, right, to a person. Tamam. Okay. So, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and indeed, he is successful, the one who has purified the nafs, and he has failed, the one who has, the one who instills it with corruption, or the one who has placed corruption, in the nafs. So struggling, so this is from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, وجهادها هو جهاد الأكبر. And this is from the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in a hadith, قال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم, لقوم قدموا من الجهاد مرحبا بكم قدمتم من الجهاد الأصغر إلى جهاد الأكبر. قالوا يا رسول الله وما الجهاد الأكبر؟ قال جهاد النفس. رواه البيهقي. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was once the people that came back they were returning from a battle, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them, "Welcome, you have returned from the smaller jihad, and from the easier jihad to the greater jihad, the bigger jihad." And so it was said to Rasulullah, "Ya Rasulullah, what is the greater jihad?" And he said jihad against the lower self, right? To fight against your lower self, right? So basically every day we are in jihad against our lower self. Right? Every day trying to force ourselves to get up. Every day trying to force ourselves to do more rak'ahs. Every day trying to force ourselves to read more Quran. Every day trying to force ourselves to, to clean and to do things that are voluntary and not to complain and to be nice and to smile and to and to just be positive the entire time. It's a jihad. It's a jihad. It's a struggle, right? No, it's called a jihad because why? It's a struggle. The struggle to force yourself. It's work. Right? It's work. Right? To have good character is definitely work, and there has to be work that's put in, right? To maintain a good character, especially with people who are foul towards you, especially people who are not nice to you. Right? That is where the sign of good character comes in, right? Whether a person has good character or truly good character or not. Naam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in another hadith, so this is all from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, him making it clear to us, about good character. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Al-mujahidu man jahada nafsahu fi ta'atillah azza wa jal. Rawahu at-Tirmidhi. Right, Rasulullah said that a true warrior, a true warrior or, someone who's striving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who struggles or strives against his nafs, his lower self, in order to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he pushes himself, he struggles against himself, right, just to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a true mujahid. Fi sabilillah. And so struggling against oneself is commissioning the lower self to leave disobedience and ignoble acts, performing what has been commanded, hastening to accomplish acts of excellence, and remaining steadfast on this until death. So how many points do we have here? Ma'na al-jihad and nafs. So now we know Rasulullah has been Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself has been describing this quest or this pursuit, of good character. He has described it to be jihad. This is jihad. This is a greater jihad. So if you imagine, right? If you want to imagine how difficult this path we are about to embark on, but it is compulsory for us to embark on it, right? So you don't have a choice. You have to embark on it. It's wajib, right? It's wajib to embark on the path, to purify your character. You don't have a choice. You don't actually have a choice, right? But just to brace ourselves, okay, and to brace ourselves and to show ourselves what an uphill task is going to be. This is going to be it's going to be lifelong. It's going to be a struggle. Right? You're going to have to go against what your nafs wants. Right? It's continuous. It's continuous. So to understand this, right, if you imagine that fighting in a battlefield, okay, fighting in a battlefield, and what does it require? It requires wealth, yes. It requires yourself, yes. It requires for a warrior to go out there. If you see the olden day battles, right? No, no, not modern day battles that are full of, cowardly behavior. No, olden day battles whereby men, they go out to the battlefields, on their horses or on foot into the thick of the battle, right? And they fight in that way. If you can imagine that and how difficult that is, it's very difficult, right? So how difficult that is, right? So to force yourself to run into the battle and to use your sword and to fight and to place yourself, in the midst of the enemy and to place your life at stake, right? All of that is counted to be easier than fighting this nafs that's inside of you. Right? All of that is easier than fighting this nafs that is sitting inside of you. Subhanallah, Subhanallah. And so we want to know exactly what is it made of, right? What are we supposed to do right, in trying to fight our nafs? Right? Because it is described to be that difficult. It's described to be the bigger jihad. I mean the more difficult one, right? And if you're wondering, like, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. Am I doing it right? Am I struggling against myself, or am I just being complacent? I just allowing myself to have his bad character and not feel any guilt, not feel any blame, not care at all. Subhanallah. Right. So here, here comes the answer. So ma'na jihad al-nafs. So the meaning of striving against oneself, هو تكليفها تكليفها ترك للمعاصي والابتعاد عن الدنايا. right? So it is to force the self. So what is struggle against oneself? It is first and foremost to force, okay, to force your lower self, right, to leave disobedience. So whatever that you're doing in your day, in your life, that is of disobedience, you're going to force yourself to leave it, right? And then secondly, like, and then to distance yourself from what is lowly. I said from acts that are lowly, right? So you see, obsession with the dunya, entertainment, like your music, all this, comedy and sitcom and all this stuff. Like all these things are very lowly things. Why are they lowly? Because they have no value in the day of judgment. This is the definition of lowly persons. These things have no value on the day of judgment. Subhanallah. And so hastening to accomplish Exodus, so now he says, right, والقيام بالأوامر والمسارعة إلى الفضائل والمصابرة على ذلك إلى الممات. So striving against one's lower self. Can I highlight that? Right? Okay, now, right. So and so to perform what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has commanded, al-awamir, right, and to hasten to accomplish acts of excellence, and that means to musara'a ila al-fadail. That means to rush to do acts that are, fadail, yani that are virtuous, to rush towards virtue, higher acts, and to remain on this state till you die. Right? That is why there is a jihad. One of pursuit, not a one-off action, but you have to keep to this until you die. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He warns those who tyrannize themselves. They are oppressors unto their own selves by following their desires and favoring the life of this world. And it gives glad tidings to those who oppose the desires. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. Right, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and as for those, right, this is in Surah Nazi'at, as for those, right, who have transgressed. So who are these people who have transgressed? Allah says, they prefer the life of this world. And how is it that when someone prefers the life of this world, that they have transgressed? Right? Tagha means to transgress, or they have become tyrants unto themselves. They have oppressed themselves. How is it that how is it that when I prefer the life of this world, I have you know I have oppressed my own self? How is that? How is that? Do you get what I'm saying? The question here. Right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala links between the word tagha and the word athara al-hayat dunya. Right? Allah has linked it. Right? So they are the ones who they are oppressors, right? They are tyrants. Against who? Against themselves. How? They have preferred the life of this dunya. How is that? Why are these two things linked? Let me see what your answers are. Why are these two things linked? Why? And why is it that 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 it is oppressive and tyrannical, right? To prefer the life of this dunya. Why? You see you're following my discussion. And why? Why is it that when I prefer life of this dunya, I am a that someone will be that will have gone into Tughyan. And they are tyrannical, they are oppressive just because they prefer life of this dunya. Why is that? Why is that? Any answer? Let's see what you all think. The Quran links it, so there is a link. Definitely there's a link. Allah has defined tyranny, right, to life of his greed now then. Well, how is it like, you have the person has oppressed themselves by loving hayat dunya? The answer, I think the closest answer that I saw is here. Um, that's the answer. Yeah, the answer is yeah. Rashida, denying yourself the rewards of the hereafter, and the true happiness that is forever. That is where you become a tyrant. And because if you prefer, because the word here is athara. The word here is athara. Athara is the word. Athara, that means given a choice, okay? Given a choice. Dunya or akhirah? Choose dunya. Choose dunya. Choose dunya. Choose dunya. Choose dunya. This kind of person denying themselves of eternal happiness by choosing temporary happiness, right? That's a tyrant. That is a tyrant, right? So they keep going, right? So for example, right? For example, let me give you an example. Okay, for example, if I if I were to say about a parent, and yet this parent has a child, right? Because and I always use children as our examples for the nafs, because children are little balls of nafs. they're like nafs, right? And they are like nafs unfiltered, unfiltered nafs to the children. Right. So if I say a parent, right? The child demands for ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. So the whole day demanding high sugar. Okay, if this parent, gives this child this high sugar all the time, right? Will you say this parent is oppressive? That meaning that instead of good food, because if the child's going to be filled up with sugar, with ice cream, they're not going to eat nutritious food. So if you place what is nutritious in front of them, they don't want it. And they don't want to eat that. So it's this or that. And it's something that is junk, in front of them, but gives them happiness for a while, or something that is nutritious, beneficial, right? And it will give them good health, right, for in the long run. Especially in the future, they're going to be healthy, young, be healthy human beings, right? So of course, obviously, the parent, who keeps giving sugar, 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 right, to the child who keeps demanding for sugar, and because they see a temporary happiness, and oh, their happiness will be so temporary. You give them the sugar for a while, they get happy for a while, they finish it. Then when they want some more sugar, they go into a tantrum again. So it's such a it's an analogy, but it's so accurate. In this how temporary their happiness. They're running after junk food. As opposed to a parent who says, no, you're not allowed to eat this because you're going to spoil your dinner. You're not going to eat your food that is nutritious for you, that will benefit you forever, inshallah, or will benefit you for a long time. Whereas this food is going to destroy you, destroy your teeth, destroy your gut, destroy your organs, it will give you, all kinds of health problems from a very young age because you're pumping them with sugar, right? So you see, there is a form of oppression. There is a form of oppression in giving someone temporary happiness, and while doing that, denying them of eternal happiness, because it's one or the other, right? That is why Allah says in the Quran, athara, athara. They have chosen, they have preferred hayat dunya, they have preferred dunya over akhirah. Subhanallah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this was why he taught his daughter Sayyidatuna Zahra, and of course he taught all of the believers that we only prefer akhirah over dunya. We don't prefer dunya over akhirah. Then that is what will compel a person to give and give and give and give of his wealth and his self. And because they're seeing all of this will manifest itself on the day of judgment. And so that is why the word tagha, I came thereafter with athara al dunya, because to prefer hayat dunya is to neglect al-akhirah. To prefer hayat dunya is to neglect al-akhirah, the hereafter. Necessarily there will be a neglect, right, of the of the hereafter. So I hope you all get that, no, mashallah. Right. So فإن الجحيم هي المأوى. Jahim is a level of the levels of hellfire. And Jahim will be the end of this person. وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى. And here in Balagha, in Arabic, in the Arabic language, it is interesting because, let me just show you, because when you compare two different statements and they're supposed to be opposites, right? They're supposed to be opposites. then you don't see like a clear opposite going on. So for example, let me show you the other ayat. This ayat. Okay. So when you see this ayat, right, you see the word aflaha. Aflaha meaning successful, and the word khaba. Khaba meaning failure, right? They are exact opposites. Exact opposites. Okay? The word zakka, purify, and dasa meaning like to neglect, right? To neglect or to fill with corruption. They are also exact opposites. Can you see that? Right? So you have two statements and they are exact opposite statements. Let's go back to that verse in Surah Nazi'at. It's interesting, mashallah. It is all of it's interesting. You know, the Quran is just interesting, mashallah. The Quran is just so enlightening. It's so, it's a lot of times it's mind blowing, mashallah. Okay, let's compare these two statements. Man tagha, okay, the one who is oppressive. Okay. Man khafa maqama rabbihi. Huh. Right. So you look at these two statements. Let me just highlight these two things. I don't know if I can highlight the Arabic or not. Because they're not showing me a cursor sign, it's showing me a like that sign. Cannot. I can draw on it. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Okay, I think I just circle Okay, طغى. No, I don't have to circle astaghfirullah Nazim. No, it looks I underline. Okay, underline طغى. Right? خاف مقام ربه. Okay, so these two statements are being compared. And these statements are being compared. Right? And then آثر الحياة الدنيا. Can I change the color? Just forgot that green. Okay. آثر الحياة الدنيا here. Here. Okay. And then نهى نفس عن الهوى. You also I'm doing, right? I'm comparing. Okay, I'm comparing two statements that are supposed to be opposite. Because and how do we know they are supposed to be opposite statements? It is because it goes فأما وأما. That is in Arabic. And so فأما هذا وأما هذا. Right? So in Arabic, in English, you say, and as for this, and you make a statement. And as for this, and you make a statement. Right, so usually they are the opposite, and you can see the end of it, right? There is a clear opposite going on. If you take the last part, right? فإن الجحيم هي المأوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. Right? So it's exactly the same ending of for both statements, but the first one says Jahim, hellfire, and the second one says Jannah, paradise. So let's compare again. And in comparing it, like it will open up for you secrets. MashaAllah. In comparing the two statements, it will open up for you secrets in the Quran. So tagha. Tagha meaning what? Let us find the Arabic word, the English word here. Let me change the color. What color do I use? Transgressed. Okay, can I highlight? Okay, transgressed. What is the opposite Allah subhanahu use? Allah used he who feared the position of his Lord. Now, and this gives you an insight into the word transgression, right? So the one who's a transgressor, right? The one who's a transgressor, right? The one who's an oppressor is someone who does not see Allah's position over him, right? That is what is causing them to be oppressors or transgressors. They don't see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is over them and they have no fear of opposition. Right? وَخَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ right? وَخَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ right? And so the one who fears, right, standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answering to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for their deeds. So you see the opposite here, okay? Right, so the transgressor is the one who is blind and he's blind to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does not see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching him. Right. So the opposite is here. And so how do we combat transgression? Or how do we remove transgression against our own selves? It is for us to be able to instill in ourselves a muraqabah. A muraqabah meaning that we have a deep sense in our own selves that Allah is watching us. Okay? So the more you instill in your heart that Allah's watching you. And the more and instilling meaning that you increase in yourself in the fear, right? In the fear that I will have to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one day, and I will have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, so that is to not fall into transgression. You see what the Quran says? To fear the standing before your Lord. I said to prevent yourself from transgression, you make yourself fear. Or you imagine Allah is watching you, Allah sees you. You have to answer to Allah. You have to speak Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these things will instill in someone a fear that will be a block for them from this transgression against their own self and against those who are around them. Okay, how you following? Okay. So آثر الحياة الدنيا. Let us take that ayat. Right. So Asara, right? So preferred the life of this world. We're here. Tamam. This is compared to and prevented the soul. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى. So this tells us exactly that people who are preferring dunya, what are they doing essentially? From the verse itself. People who are preferring dunya, what they are doing essentially is that they are feeding their nafs all of what it is inclined towards, all of its desires. They are feeding their nafs all of its desires. Because the opposite says, وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى. And so this person, he has prevented himself or prevented his nafs from, from his whims and inclination. Right? So this person is the opposite of someone preferring hayat dunya, preferring the life of this world. Right? So this statement could mean that the one who is transgressing, that means the one who does not fear the standing of his Lord, right? The one who does not fear standing in front of his Lord, this is transgressing. And he gives his nafs free reign to pursue whatever it wants of his desires. You get me? Right, so this is the meaning of tagha, right? Tagha, a tyrant. A tyrant does not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And the one who prefers dunya is somebody who has given his nafs free reign to take whatever he wants and to take whatever it desires. Right? And if Jannata here, was I hope you all followed in the discussion, okay? Tamam. The excellence of good character and the condemnation of bad character. The next fasl. فضيلة حسن الخلق و مذمة سوء الخلق. نعم. So the excellence of good character and the condemnation of bad character. نعم. Okay, اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, حسن الخلق نصف الدين. MashaAllah. Good character is half of religion, mashallah. Because what is the other half? If good character is half of religion, what's the other half? What's the other half? And the scholars do ask this question. So if good character is half of religion, what's the other half? What is the other half? If good character is half of religion. This adab is good character lah. Adab, sabar is good character, taqwa is good character. They're all good character. They all fall under good character. Sabar is good character. They're all good character. They're all part of good character. They're all under the entire circle of good character. What is good? These are also good character. You're still giving me good character. Marriage, not really. Marriage is said to be half your religion, but not really marriage in itself, but selflessness. Selflessness. Knowledge, half of religion. Outward practices, correct, Yuan. I got it. Not a husband, astaghfirullah azim. No, not your husband. It is outward practices, yes. The Sharia. Okay, the Sharia is the other half. Okay, Sharia. So there is Sharia and there is Haqiqah. Right? There is the outward there's an outward manifestation and there is an inward character, good character, right? Yeah, now husband, okay, ask the question again, eh? But I thought people say that marriage is half of faith. Like gonna find the hadith, yani, if marriage is half of faith, meaning it's speaking about iman, right? Here Rasulullah said deen. Deen. Deen and iman are different, okay? Deen and iman are different. Iman is part of deen, right? But he says deen, deen. right? The religion in itself. Okay, tamam. Okay, but if you think about it, right, the Deen has four pillars, correct? The Deen has four pillars: Islam, Iman, Ihsan, and knowledge of the end of times. If you look at it, Ihsan and knowledge of the end of times, that is under good character, right? Because the end of times is aimed at destroying character. And in the destruction of character, right, comes, the destruction of everything else, right? And the first half of the deen is the first two, Iman and Islam. You get me? Right, so there are four pillars, right, to Islam, to the religion: Islam, Iman, Ihsan, and Ilm bi'alamat al-Sa'ah. Islam, Iman, Ihsan, and there is the knowledge of the end of times. Good character is the last two, right? And the first two, right, will be the outward manifestation of the religion, which is your Iman, your belief, and your Sharia. Now, he Sallallahu also said the most perfect of Muslims in faith is he who has the best character. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, akmal mu'minin imanan ahsanuhum khuluqa wa khiyarukum linisa'ihim rawahu at-Tirmidhi. وقال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أثقل ما يوضع في الميزان تقوى الله وحسن الخلق. نعم. وسأل رجل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عن حسن الخلق. فتلا عليه قوله تعالى خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. ثم قال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم هو أن تصل من قطعك وتعطي من حرمك وتعفو عمن ظلمك. رواه المردوي. وجاء الرجل إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من بين يديه فقال يا رسول الله ما الدين؟ قال حسن الخلق. ثم أتاه من قبل يمينه فقال يا رسول الله ما الدين؟ قال حسن الخلق. ثم أتاه من قبل شماله فقال يا رسول الله ما الدين؟ قال حسن الخلق. ثم أتاه من ورائه فقال يا رسول الله ما الدين؟ فالتفت إليه وقال أما تفقه هو ألا تغضب. رواه المروزي. نعم. وقيل لرسول صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إن فلانة تصوم النهار وتقوم الليل وهي سيئة خلق ويؤذي جيرانها بلسانها. قال لا خير فيها هي من أهل النار. رواه أحمد. وقال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم سوء الخلق يفسد العمل كما يفسد الخل العسل. رواه الحاكم. وقال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إن العبد ليبلغ من سوء الخلق أسفل درك جهنم. رواه الطبراني. وقال يحيى بن معاذ سوء الخلق سيئة لا تنفع معها كثرة الحسنات وحسن الخلق حسنة لا تضر معها كثرة السيئات. ما شاء الله. Okay, this entire thing, okay, I read the entire thing because this is quite addictive, mashallah. Whenever you begin, if you, mashallah, inshallah, when you all, gain your Arabic, when you begin reading hadith, right, you just continue reading it. It's like hadith, it has an addictive effect. Like, it's like you just want to read more and more and more and more and more and more, of the words of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the entire section here, right, speaks about the words of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with regards to character. The whole chapter from start to end, you can see here, the whole chapter from start to end, it speaks about the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the man came to Rasulullah, and the man said this, and he said that, and so on, right? So from start to end, it are all the words of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with regards to good character and also bad character. Now, so it's really 8:30, but inshallah next week I will continue from here, right? So, and mashallah, there is benefit in hearing the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, definitely, and hearing it in its pure form, like hearing it from Rasulullah Sallallahu himself in the Arabic language. And so inshallah, may Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala grant us the character of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? Inshallah we are here So the most perfect of Muslims in faith is he who has the best character, and the best of you is the one who is best to his womanfolk. And he also said that the heaviest thing that is placed on the scales and day of judgment is taqwa, fear of Allah, and good character. And they are both inward qualities. You realize that the heaviest thing on the day of judgment are two traits that are inward. They are both inward traits. They're not physical traits. They're actually inward traits to be developed, and you can't fake them. You can't fake good character, and you can't fake taqwa. Right? And the man asked Rasulullah about good character, and he recited the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. Give what is take what is given freely. Okay, it is a bit translation is a bit weird. Okay, let me just give you the info in Arabic. Okay, خذ العفو. That means take forgiveness. That means take the path of forgiveness. وأمر بالعرف, and command people to what is good. وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ, and turn away from those who are ignorant. And inshallah, I will explain this verse in the next lesson, inshallah. And then he also said here, like, what is good character? To reconcile with the one who has severed relations with you, to give to the one who has withheld from you, and to forgive the one who has done wrong to you. And this whole thing, ya Allah, may we apply it, ya Allah. May we apply it. And a man approaches some, in front of him and said, Ya Rasulullah, what is religion? He said, good character. He came from his right. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what is religion? He said, good character. He came from his left. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what is religion? He said, good character. He came from his back. Ya Rasulullah, what is religion? The same guy, same guy. And some turned to the man and he said, don't you understand? It means not to get angry. Like, mashallah. So what is good character? Don't get angry. It means control yourself. Like he said, someone said to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that this woman, the so and so, this woman, she fasts in the day and she prays in the night. But she has bad character and she harms her neighbor with her tongue. And he said, she is devoid of goodness. La khayra fiha. She has no goodness in her. Hiya min ahli nar. And she is of the inhabitants of the fire. And Rasulullah said that bad character spoils good deeds like vinegar, spoils honey. I should beware of bad character. And he said, indeed, a constant worshipper will attain the lowest level of the hellfire. It means the worst, lowest meaning the worst level of the hellfire because of his bad character. So su'ul khuluq. So innal abda, hmm, not a constant worshipper lah. The transition is a bit off. Indeed, indeed a person. Abda, any a person. Indeed, a person like can will reach the lowest level of the hellfire because of his bad character. And Yahya bin Umayya said, bad character is an evil that it is not assisted by many good deeds. So meaning if someone does a lot of like charity and prayers and fasting, but they are just so harmful, right, towards other people with their tongues. They're so rude and so vile towards other people that their good deeds will not help them at all on the day of judgment. And good character is a virtue that is not harmed by many bad deeds, meaning that when it comes to sin against themselves, but they have good character, and the good character can help alleviate them, right? Inshallah, on the day of judgment. And I'll give an example, inshallah, for all of these statements of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the next lesson, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. والحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته